City boy, city boy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Nate the Great, back with another video. And you know we gotta go ahead and do a WWE Backlash pay-per-view review, baby. Okay? Now, let's go ahead, jump right on into it, man. This show was ass, okay? This show was exactly what I predicted that this show was going to be, and that was just 3 hours of non-stop wrestling, okay? Wrestling, and it was just interrupted by a few advertisements, 10 minutes of advertisements, 10 to 15 minutes of advertisements between each and every match. And then each match was like a 30-minute slugfest. This show was ass from beginning to end. All right, that's not to say that the action in some of these matches was all bad. That's not to say that at all. But in this era of WWE, where we have no backstage interactions during pay-per-views, we have no segments happening during pay-per-views, we have no real promos being cut during pay-per-views. We don't have any of that stuff that we used to have back in the day. All right, we don't have any more vignettes during pay-per-views, right? We don't have any of this stuff anymore. Now, when we come into a pay-per-view or a PLE, whatever you want to call it, right? When we come into one of these days, all we get is the wrestling matches. So it doesn't even feel like a glorified episode of a Raw, of a SmackDown. It feels like a glorified house show. That's what it feels like I'm watching here. It doesn't feel like I'm watching something special, something that I can come back to later on and relive the lore of. This doesn't feel like one of those shows. So when we're looking at Backlash and these pay-per-views nowadays, we have to look at it in the totality of the build, and then you got to add the matches in that happen at the pay-per-view. And since the build was ass, all right, thrown together at the last minute, no real thought being put into it, since this was the build for us, right? Then the show itself was ass as a consequence. It is what it is. That's just what it is. We came off of 3 weeks of the same shit week after week. We got the same show 3 times in a row when it came to SmackDown. We got the same promo build from John Cena 3 weeks in a row. We got the same, it's the same shit. And then you pull up to tonight and you just have matches. This was hard to get through, man. All right. I even fell asleep during the last match, which wasn't even a bad match. The John Cena versus Randy Orton match, it wasn't really even a bad match, but the show was just so hard to get through that I ended up falling asleep during the match and waking up around the time that John Cena was getting ready to pick up that victory. All right. So there was a couple of things in the match that I missed, but that's okay. All right. It was a long ass, like 40-minute match. Like, I didn't miss much, man. So let's go ahead, jump into it. I'll talk about everything that happened tonight. Let me know what y'all thought of tonight's show down in the comments below. And let's go ahead, jump right on into the review. So we started off the show with the national anthem. All right, some guy who, I mean, I've never heard of him, but he was he did a pretty good job. I still don't like even me, and I love this country. Don't get me wrong. I love America. I love everything. You know, I love everything about this country. But the problem is that I'm so used to seeing the national anthem sang before sporting events that when I see the national anthem sang before a WWE event, it really takes me out, because this is not a sporting event. This is not athletic competition. This is scripted competition. This is an entertainment show. Okay, this is a television show. So the fact that we're sitting here listening to the national anthem before it just really takes me out of it. But for what it was, he did a good job. All right, we move on. We get our superstar arrivals, and then we get to our first match. Okay, our first match was Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre in a fatal 4-way for the United States Championship title. Okay, now this was a good match to start off the show. It was very high octane, very high energy. All right, there were a lot of good spots in this match. All right, I feel like there were a lot of times where I just knew kind of what was going to go down in this match. I already knew who was going to take the pin. I already knew, because LA Knight got the pin last night, so I figured that he was going to be the one to take the pin tonight, and that's exactly what happened. We had like Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. They were outside on the outskirts, and they were fighting out in the audience, fighting out in the technical area, and Damian Priest hit Drew McIntyre with a South of Heaven through the tables out there on the outside. So that was a really good spot. Towards the end of the match, what we end up getting was Jacob Fatu being set up on the table, the announce table, by LA Knight. All right, and as LA Knight is getting ready to go up to the top rope and drop that elbow on Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa comes out of the blue, pulls Jacob Fatu off of the table. LA Knight gets out of the ring. He's getting ready to press Solo Sikoa. Out comes some random fucking, like, maybe random Polynesian. Let's just call him that. We're gonna call, because I didn't know if he was Samoan. I don't know if he's a Tongan. I don't know what he is. Okay, but another random Polynesian jumps out of nowhere. All right, and he starts attacking LA Knight, and I guess his name is Jeff Cobb, one of the hottest free agents on the market right now. Who the fuck? Like, the audience went so mild when this guy appeared, because they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Solo Sikoa was bringing in another fucking guy. Solo Sikoa brought in Jacob Fatu, brought in Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, and now he's bringing in Jeff Cobb. They couldn't even come up with a Polynesian name for this guy. They're just gonna call him Jeff Cobb. All right, that's fine. That's fine. That's his name, okay? But that's what ends up happening. This guy Jeff Cobb ends up attacking LA Knight. All right, throws him into the ring post and does like a crossbody on LA Knight while LA Knight's on the ring post, right? And then he throws him into the ring. Jacob Fatu's looking confused, right? He's like, who the fuck? He's asking the same questions everybody else is asking. Who the fuck is this guy? Why the fuck is he here right now? All right, this guy was literally built like I've seen. I work in maintenance. All right, Nate the Great works as a maintenance technician. I've seen this guy Jeff Cobb all around the maintenance business. All right, I've seen him. I'm pretty sure I've called him in as a vendor a couple of times to do the plumbing in my building. Right? I've seen this guy before. There's nothing special about this guy. All right, I have to make that very fucking clear right now. Okay, this is a stocky Mexican dude or type looking dude. All right, that's just what he is and what he looks like. So I don't see what this is. All right, but Jacob's like, what the fuck is going on? All right, Solo's like, go ahead, jump back in the ring, finish the match. All right, LA Knight, he's in the ring. He's getting ready, or he's ready to take the prettiest moonsault ever from Jacob Fatu, and that's exactly what the fuck happens. Jacob Fatu hits the prettiest moonsault ever, and then 1, 2, 3. All right, LA Knight pinned in the middle of the ring twice in the last 30 days. This shit is crazy. This shit is getting wild. I'm not enjoying this at all. LA Knight just getting his ass whipped on this in this mid card, but like I said, hopefully now, maybe now. Okay, because in the match, they kind of set up the rivalry between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, so they're probably going to keep that going. Hopefully now LA Knight can move on to something else, because LA Knight now is not a part of any of this, all right? Jacob Fatu has his own thing going on with Solo Sikoa and Jeff Cobb now. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, they're still going to be beefing. That's what it looks like. So now LA Knight should be able to move on to the main event. That should be what happens next. But obviously, Triple H does not like LA Knight at all. So we will see what happens here. All right. But that's what happened. Jacob Fatu picks up the win, and he's very confused as to what's going on with the whole Jeff Cobb and Solo Sikoa situation. We move on to the next match, all right? But before we move on to the next match, it was announced that the unnamed PLE that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks, it has been announced as Night of Champions out in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, because duh. All right, this has to happen. All right, so now we're gonna like I said before, we're gonna get a very rushed product over the next few months because of how much shit WWE has booked for the summer. All right, we got this pay-per-view, that pay-per-view. We got 3 pay-per-views and a Saturday night main event happening within the span of 2 months. 2 months. So there's gonna be a lot of rushing going on over these next few weeks. All right. But yeah, like I said, next match was Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria. Now, this match was entirely too fucking long. This match was like 30, 35 minutes, some shit like that. This match was entirely too long. All right. Lyra Valkyria came out dressed up once again as a bird. All right. And I said it before, I'm going to keep on saying it. Stop bringing this bitch out dressed up as a bird when her character has nothing to do with birds. All right? She doesn't squawk. All right? She doesn't peck around. All right? She doesn't do any of this. I haven't seen her fly south for the winter. None of that. I haven't seen her do anything in regards to being a bird, so I don't like that she's coming out dressed as a bird. The audience is confused because they're like, well, I thought she was just a random Irish girl, but for some reason, she comes out dressed like a bird. She just really likes birds for some reason. Incorporate it into the gimmick, incorporate it into the character, or leave the shit in the dust and have her come out regular, okay? But like I said, this match was entirely too long. Too much happened. All right. There was a lot of times where you could see them like just getting ready and setting up their spots. It was a sloppy match overall. All right. But like I said, this match was 30 plus minutes. And you want to know how this match ended? This match ended off of Lyra hitting a roll up on Becky Lynch. After 30 minutes, we got a roll up. Lyra wins off of a roll up. Okay? And then after the match, Becky Lynch attacks her. All right, hits her with the manhandle slam, which Lyra Valkyria kicked out of 2 manhandle slams in this match. All right, so Becky's finisher is just completely buried. I don't know why we always do this in Hunter's era. Everybody's finisher has to get buried. Everybody's taking 3 stomps, 3 spears, 3 manhandle slams. You know what I mean? Everybody has to take multiple finishers to be finished. All right, so they're not even finishers at this point. They're just signature moves. Becky attacks Lyra, hits her with the manhandle slam, and then puts her in the disarmor. Security comes out, the guys in the suits come out and they escort Becky out of there. And that was that. A complete waste of time is what this match was. We got to see Lyra Valkyria's fiance. All right. Now, I'm not going to hop on this guy. Okay. I feel like enough people are going to hop on this guy. All right. But all I'm saying is, as fine as Lyra Valkyria is, and as average as this guy was, all I know is that Nate the Great has a chance with Jada Parker. That's what this means. All right. Now, you might look at this. All right. Other people might look at this like, oh, man, who's this guy that Lyra is with? I'm looking at it like, oh, well, if Lyra is with that guy, I got a chance with Jada Parker. I got a chance to knock her boots. All right. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. All right. One of these days, you're going to see me knocking the boots of Jada Parker. All right. You won't see it happening, but it'll be implied that it's happening. Okay. Because that's going to be my lady for sure. All right. But we move on. All right. And next up, we got Penta versus Dom Mysterio. All right. This was another match that I felt. I mean, this match, honestly, I don't think it overstayed its welcome. I think that this match did exactly what it needed to do. Obviously, Penta got buried in this match. Once again, Penta has been taking L after L. And this is exactly, like I said, what I predicted when Penta first got into the WWE. I said that there was nothing special about this guy, that he's going to be eating L's within the near future, that he's going to be wrestling for the Speed Champion before, the Speed Championships before long, right? And that's exactly what we're being shown here, all right? Dom ends up picking up the victory, and how it happens is, during the match, I believe that Penta had just hit a Mexican destroyer on Dominic Mysterio on the ring apron. And here comes the rest of the Judgment Day, right? Here comes Carlito out. He distracts the ref. Finn and JD, they jump out of the crowd, and they're getting ready to hem Penta up and start whooping on him. But Finn is like, hold on, let me grab a chair for some reason. Finn's like, hold on, let me grab a chair. Finn goes to grab a chair from the timekeeper's area, but by this time, the referee already stopped fucking with Carlito, came back over to see what they were doing. They were getting ready to set up to hit Penta with the chair. After that, the referee throws all of them out, all right, throws Finn, JD, and Carlito out, and that was that. But Finn ends up coming back for some reason to distract the ref again. Here comes El Grande Americano, okay? Penta's up at the top rope. He's getting ready to jump down onto Dominic Mysterio. So El Grande Americano comes out of nowhere, hits fucking Penta with the headbutt, I believe. Yeah, hits him with the headbutt with the loaded mask. And then Dominic Mysterio ends up picking up the victory by 5-star frog splash, okay? So that's what ends up happening in this match. And then we just move on, right? We just move on. Dom says that he's the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, all right? That is what it is. And like I say, we move on. Next up, we have Gunther versus Pat McAfee. Now, this match, of all the matches on the card tonight, was probably the most intriguing just because of the spectacle of it, right? A non-wrestler versus a wrestler, right? And a ring announcer versus a wrestler, right? So, or not ring announcer, a commentator versus a wrestler. So this was probably the most intriguing in that terms, and this is what most people were talking about. And just how is this match going to go down? Is Gunther just going to go out there and squash Pat McAfee? Is Gunther going to get his aura back by whooping on Pat McAfee? Will Bill Goldberg come back and help Pat McAfee? I know that was a big rumor going around. I was really hoping that Bill Goldberg did not show up. And guess what? Bill Goldberg did not show up. All right. What ended up happening is that Gunther just whooped Pat McAfee's ass for the better part of 15 minutes. Okay. For the better part of 15 minutes, probably like 95% of the match, Gunther was just laying into Pat McAfee, whooping his ass, hitting him with power bombs, chopping the shit out of him, you know, hitting him with kicks, German suplexes, multiple chokes, right? Just whooping his ass. And the whole time, all right, the whole fucking time, we have to be subjected to Michael Cole screaming into the microphone. Just in the damn match, Gunther. Just in the damn match. I'm tired of it, okay? I'm just sick of it. We should be able to speak our minds and say our own opinions, all right, without getting harassed and beat up by Gunther, okay? I'm going to be very biased in this match because I want Pat McAfee to win. Just in the damn match. We had to hear that shit throughout the whole fucking match, bro. Michael Cole even got involved in the match. Right? Michael Cole jumps off of throws his fucking microphone down and goes to give a pep talk to Pat McAfee. Gunther's trying to invite Michael Cole into the ring. He pulls Michael Cole into the ring, gets ready to hit him with the power bomb. Out comes Pat McAfee with a kick to the face. Gunther drops Michael Cole. Michael Cole rolls out of the ring. I believe Gunther was going to go do something to Michael Cole, but then Pat McAfee rolled him up kind of, and fucking Michael Cole grabbed Gunther's leg and tried to hold it down, as if you got to keep your legs down during a pin or something like that. Like it's not your shoulders or something that you have to get up. I don't know. It was a very weird spot. But Michael Cole was legitimately trying to screw Gunther out of a victory in this match. And for some reason, Gunther didn't absolutely lay into Michael Cole as well. But once again, this match was, in my opinion, way too fucking long. This match should have been 5 minutes at most. But instead we got a 15-minute match, all right, and Gunther ends up winning by choking out Pat McAfee. And at the end of it, just to make it all better, after Gunther just lays into Pat McAfee for 15 minutes, after the match, Gunther shows Pat McAfee respect. Throws out his hand. Hey, shake my hand. Shake my hand. You took that ass whooping like a man. What the fuck is going on with this thing, man? What is this, dog? So it's one thing, we didn't get Goldberg, which is good, all right, for so many reasons. Would it have been sort of entertaining? Yeah, for sure. But we didn't get Goldberg. But this is how we end this off, this 3 weeks. You attack the commentators and then you go ahead and you shake their hands after the match. I didn't like this at all. But then we get to the John Cena and Randy Orton match. And like I said, I fell asleep for some of this match just because up until this point, it was very hard to get through this show. But from what I saw in this match, it was what it was. It was more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. All right, there was a lot of shenanigans. We got to see Randy Orton RKO a bunch of the guys backstage in suits, right? A bunch of those backstage suits guys. We got to see a bunch of those guys get RKO'd, right? We got to see R-Truth come out and stop Randy Orton from hitting John Cena with a punt kick. And ultimately, John Cena ends up coming out on top as if that was ever in question. All right, and he ends up cutting like a little after-match promo saying that he needs competition and that this is what a real last champion looks like. All right, so this match was what it was. Like I said, pretty decent match for what I saw, and I did watch as well the press conference afterwards. All right, bits and pieces of it. The main piece that I was watching for was to see what Triple H would say. Obviously, more nut sniffing from him, sniffing his own nuts as far as the story, quote unquote storylines that he's coming up with and all that. How he comes up with these ideas and shit like that. But then something happens, all right? Now, regardless of how you feel about John Cena, I know not everybody that likes my videos or comes into the comment section, I know not everybody is a big fan of John Cena. But John Cena, for one thing, all right, whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you hate him, whether you love him, right? He respects the game. He respects kayfabe. He respects the pro wrestling legacy, respects the business. So much to the point where I was going to get ready to go off on Triple H for making John Cena do a press conference, because up until this point, John Cena has not sat down for the press conferences, the media scrums right after the show. He has not done that. He has not sat down for those because he knows he's going to get asked questions that are going to require him to break kayfabe. But towards the end of Triple H's nut sniffing, he comes out and he asks Triple H to take some questions. All right. Triple H is like, hey, when the GOAT comes out and says that he wants to take a few questions, you let the GOAT take a few questions. So that's what you do. All right. John Cena sits down and he says, hey, to you guys, I know I should probably be better. I haven't done these media scrums up until this point, but that changes now. I'm going to go ahead and field all questions. Everybody who has a question, please feel free to ask them and I'll answer. The first question he gets, all right, the first fucking question that John Cena gets, and you can see it in his face. This is the first question that he got. It was something along the lines of, how did you feel going out there with Randy Orton for the last time in this match? And did you guys share any words to each other backstage before or after the match? The first fucking question is one of the most kayfabe breaking questions that a bitch could possibly come up with. John Cena, the fucking stud, this man, I respect this man so much, all right? Because I may not be a big fan of everything that John Cena does, but this right here, all right? John Cena has R-Truth come out. All right, because John Cena, he lets out a long sigh, because he's like, I'm really glad I'm not about to answer this question, because here comes R-Truth. R-Truth walks up to him. He's like, hey, John, see, I was there for you. I'm on your side. Never give up, all that. It doesn't matter what the people say, even if they say that you suck and you can't wrestle. All right, I'm on your side. John Cena, he grabs the microphone, stands up, looks R-Truth in the face and says, Ron, you stepped over the line. I'm going to ask you not to say anything else. If you do, there will be consequences. R-Truth says, well, I was just trying to say I was on your side. Here comes John Cena, kicks him in the groin, right? Picks him up for the attitude adjustment right through the press conference table. And that's how the press conference goes off the air. Because John Cena is a fucking stud, and so is R-Truth. John Cena refuses to break kayfabe, and that is, I have to give him all my respects for that. As for the totality of the show, the totality of Backlash, I can't give it anything more than a 4 out of 10. All right, because the matches, it's not like they were terrible matches. They were decent matches, but it's the entire build, right? The entire build, and then the storyline surrounding it that comes up, and then everything surrounding the matches now begins to feel underwhelming, like they're not accomplishing anything. All right, and that's just what it was. So I can't give this anything above a 4 out of 10. I'm going to settle on a 3.5 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give this show. Like I said, this show was ass. All right, laughably bad in totality. All right, let me know what y'all thought down in the comments below. All right, like and subscribe to the video if you want to hear some more. All right, this has been your boy, Nate the Great, back with another video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.